I think there's a global sense of urgency that we've got to find treatments and or vaccines for the COVID pandemic. And I think that's brought together all the stakeholders really with a purpose to try to accelerate what are normally very long timelines in clinical development. So that's really sort of driven innovation across the industry, not just for us on the CRO side, but clearly the pharma and biotech sponsors, but also all the other stakeholders that are involved, particularly the clinical sites, those that provide technology for us, and then ultimately those patients that are participating in the important research. I think there is a pool of work that we're heavily involved with in terms of COVID treatments and vaccine research. But additionally, we're looking at the other disease areas that we have worked on and will continue to work on post-pandemic to see if those can be changed and we can utilize some of the technology to really make those trials more efficient, more effective, clearly focused on the patient, their safety, but really delivering data to sponsors and ultimately the regulators more quickly. I think we've all realized that there is a lot of dead space in the process that leads to clinical development. And can those spaces be compressed so that overall timelines come down, the efficiency is improved, yet we can actually retain and even improve quality as well. I think the real risk is we go back to the status quo. I think for all of us, we know that clinical development and bringing new therapies to market and to patients that need them takes too long, it costs too much, and has a high degree of failure. And I think we really should embrace some of the technologies that have been successfully deployed in the COVID pandemic and really utilize those in mainstream development going forward. I think the decentralized clinical trials, the healthcare at home, the telehealth tools that we're now using as part of the pandemic, so treating COVID patients, but also utilized in some of the clinical trials that we're already running, is going to be critically important. And I think that technology will be a real enabler going forward. The other one that I think is important is the collaboration that we've seen across all the stakeholders. Everybody's had the shared sense of purpose and urgency. So from the sponsor pharma and biotech companies to their CRO partners, to the technology providers, to the investigator sites, and ultimately down to the patients, I think everybody has been actively engaged to accelerate development. And I think that's something that should be applied to other disease areas going forward. And then finally, I think the regulators have shown more flexibility in the current environment. It's critically important that we conduct safe and ethical research. Everybody agrees on that. But it's obvious that we can do things differently from the way that regulations are currently constructed. So I think sitting down together with many of the stakeholders, including the regulators, after the pandemic and looking to see how we can improve process and still stay within the bounds of very safe, very ethical research is going to be important going forward.